During this series so far, I've dealt with my fair share of toxicity on the Warlock, but today you're about to witness something different, something we don't see too often in games, and it's a damn shame. In today's episode, we start at an item level of 456, and our Mythic Plus score is 1398. Now, due to the Christmas period, I couldn't record an episode, but last Tuesday, in the nick of time, I was able to open the vault and get a cheeky key done so that I didn't miss out. So today we get double vault. The choices we get from the first vault are a veteran ring with high verse and crit, a veteran chest with crit and haste, another veteran ring with high haste and mastery, veteran legs with haste and verse, and lastly some hero hands with verse, mastery and leech. But not only that, it was my biggest upgrade, and I'm pretty sure that this is my last bit of gear that's blue. So easy vault today, bit of a no-brainer, and we went with the hands. Alright, here comes the embarrassing part, because I know by equipping the hands is going to give us the epic achievement, so hopefully the other players around me are AFK. I don't know why, I just get that sense of embarrassment every time I get this achievement. Look at Shinoda, he's all grown up. Alright, now we need to get a key done for the vault, because as you can see it's pretty close to midnight and reset is in the morning. Just make note of the time. I somehow get into an Everbloom 16, but that quickly falls apart before it even gets going. I lower expectations and start signing to 11s and 13s. How am I getting declined for these? I then sign to a Waycrest Manor 11. I just want to get a key done and go to bed, man, as it's already been 45 minutes of being declined. But then I got invited, and I started to think, why? After being declined for so long, you start to question the groups that actually invite you, like, are they desperate? Is no one signing for these keys? So I accept and get into the group, and I realize that there are loads of players signing to this key. A lot of players on the lower side, but also a lot of players on the higher side. So colour me intrigued when they invite a 439 Havoc Demon Hunter and a 443 Org Evoker. I mean, it's still an Org Evoker, right? But 443? There were much higher item level players signing to this key, even the same specs they invited. And on top of that, they invited me, an Affliction Warlock. You guys are wondering too, right? What's going on? Oh, and if you're wondering about the Vengeance Demon Hunter and the Mistweaver Monk, well, they're both sat at around 470. So we get to Waycrest Manor, we start the key, and I'm still kind of wondering, like, why? Surely that key would go so much faster with higher item leveled players and higher rated players. There must be a reason to this madness. The first pull starts off really well and, well, AFGO boom. Though I just wanted to point out that I am aware of the Affliction rotation when it comes to AoE. The fact that my main target should have unstable Affliction, I should then be applying Vile Taint, followed by Soul Rot because of my talents and the Forset bonus, and then I should spam the poop out of Seed of Corruption to go boom. That said, however, and the reason I'm bringing it up, this week I decided to kind of like for science a few things, so there were a couple of other dots that I was throwing out on my main target. Dots like Haunt, just wanted to see it for myself. Okay, I know you shouldn't do it in AoE situations, I know it's a DPS loss, I just need to see these things for myself, you know? There are also times where I accidentally apply dots, like, I know what the rotation is now, okay? I think I'm pretty good with it, but there are times where I still get the keybinds mixed up and I press the wrong button. And there are a few occasions, typically on the higher keys that I'm doing, where I get a bit flustered and kind of forget what I'm doing and press the wrong buttons. It happens. Do you know what else I get confused with? Using Seed of Corruption on the first boss when it's a single target fight. I don't think I did it this time, but you might see it later. Spoilers! Alright, because this is previous week, we only have one dungeon of the older fixes. I'm not going to talk about this place anymore. But we do absolutely destroy this key. We +3 it, I get no rating. And look at Dilly on top of damage. Yeah, I'd probably be doing like 80k if it went for the Org Evoker. And hey, maybe even the Havoc Demon Hunter would have done a little more damage if they weren't completely blazed. I think we all know what that means. I thank everyone for the group and I leave the party, but I have to awkwardly stand here because my hearth is on cooldown. So I gotta wait a minute to get teleported out of the dungeon. Although I could have just spoken to the guy and ran out, I guess, but I really can't be asked. And while standing here, I'm still curious as to why I got invited and the other DPS. I stand back and highlight my cursor over the Vengeance Demon Hunter that invited me. I sneakily realized that they were targeted on me. Does this player know who I am? I mean, I don't get noticed too often, but I do get a few whispers from time to time. Is this the only way I'm gonna get invited to keys? So curiosity gets the better over me and I sit here for the next couple of minutes trying to think of what I might say and ask, because I need to know why. And the fact that they were targeted on me, well, it just seemed a little fishy. So I simply ask, did you purposely take an off-meta and a couple of low item level players, by the way? And as it turns out, yes, they did, but not for reasons I was expecting. It turns out they were just testing new keybinds. I shared my appreciation, as it's really tough getting into keys as an Affliction Warlock, and even they weren't sure it was possible, though I still had a sneaky feeling that they knew who I was. So I said, well, I could let you in on a little secret, but I have a feeling you already know. And it turns out they were either playing dumb or they just really didn't. So I replied, I don't usually do this because I think it's cringe, but I noticed what you did and I appreciate it. Search for Dillisan on YouTube and you might find a silly little warlock. I really don't like doing this. I mean, jumping into a key and going, hey guys, I'm on YouTube, go sub to my channel. But the fact that these guys were taking lower item level players and giving them a chance, not to mention that they invited an Affliction Warlock, the worst DPS spec in the game by the way, well these are the kind of guys that I want in my community, because this is everything I stand for and believe in. Not to mention that both the Vengeance Demon Hunter and the Mistweaver Monk actually got loot that they could trade with the Evoker and the other Demon Hunter, and that made the key feel extra special. So my message to Vi and Mig, I appreciate you guys. You're both awesome. Keep doing what you're doing, because the WoW community needs more people like you. You guys want to know who else is awesome? All of my amazing Patreons. If you'd like to add your name to this list or check out some of the other awesome perks, I'll leave a link to my Patreon down below. Alright, so now we can jump into Vault number 2. But before we get into that, we have a new weekly to pick up. This week you can do 4 mythic dungeons and get your hands on a heroic raid cache. But because of the connection issues on the day, I was really behind on recording. And because I only had 1 slot in the vault, I decided I'd do that first and do the weekly naturally as I'm doing Mythic Plus. Yeah, I'm probably going to forget about that. Alright, so Vault number 2 of this episode currently sat at 459 item level, and although we only have 1 slot to open today, it is at least a hero level, so there's a high chance that whatever item it is, it's going to be an upgrade. And the item we are presented with today is a back piece with crit and haste. Big item level upgrade. It does mean we are dropping a little bit of mastery, but yeah, pretty happy. Back piece, 20 item level upgrade, going from veteran to hero. I'll take it. Equipping this takes our total item level up to 460. This week's affixes are Tyrannical, Volcanic, and Sanguine. I believe this is the first time dealing with Volcanic, so I'm probably going to get knocked in the air quite a bit. The key we picked up this week was a Darkheart Thicket 15, and the plan going into this reset was to do some of the keys that I had very little score or none at all. And Darkheart Thicket was on the list because I only had a 2 for Tyrannical. Along with this, I needed a Waycrest Manor and a Black Rook Hold because I've not been to them yet on Tyrannical, and an Atal'Dazar because I only had an 8. I thought by doing these 4 dungeons and getting a bit of score, it might make my life a little easier getting into keys in the near future. So I listed my key and I decided to take a different approach. Now, when it comes to forming groups, I really don't care about the meta. At this level, I really don't care about what rating you have, and the item level I can be fairly flexible with. Although the higher keys, you have to put more thought into it, but this is a 15. So, although I can see the wonderful Iron Pants signing for my key with 1,500 score and 456 item level, I decide to hold off even though they are more than capable of doing the 15. This is purely because I didn't want to rush into picking the first person, just in case a group of friends signed for the key. I had this thought, you guys know I like to for science stuff, so I gave it a go, and it's a good job I did, because a 483 Disc Priest signed for the key with a 477 Rep Paladin, and although the mage is on the lower side, I'm pretty sure myself and the Paladin are gonna make up for it. Oh man, now I feel bad for Iron Pants. Sorry man. And I get pretty lucky with the tank because a 472 Blood DK signs for the key. So this is one hell of a group for a 15. We get going. I'm a little bit patient with the first group because I want my main target to be the bear, and it's the furthest away. So I'm already massively behind in damage. And like I said earlier, Haunt, AoE, I know, I'm for sciencing, okay? I won't do it next time, I promise. So, as always, Rek goes burr, but Aff goes boom. And by the end of this pack, I actually finish on top. But this is tyrannical, and typically Rep Paladin and Affliction Warlock lack the single target. So boss fights could be totally different. However, the Rep Paladin actually pulled some pretty decent numbers. Sure, probably Divine Storm spam when the ads were out, but I mean, they need to die anyway. And I was doing the same with Seed of Corruption where I could. But the fact that my 90 odd K single target damage compared to a Fire Mage that is somewhat 20 item level levels below me and probably the old 4 set. Yeah, maybe it's a combination of Affliction being in a poor state for single target and the fact that I'm pretty bad at it. But I'll highlight this point at the end where I make the most of the ads, and something you guys have been pointing out for the last couple of weeks. And that's the fact that I need to be in melee ranged when casting my Suncaller trinket. I had so many comments on this and I hold my hands up, I didn't know, and I'll be completely honest, this is something I should have picked up from the beginning. I'll put it down to the fact that I'm tunneling, I'm still learning, and I only play this character 1 day a week. But yeah, I appreciate it. You guys are helping me. Thank you. Man, I feel stupid. Turns out this does quite a bit of damage when you use it correctly. Who knew? Well, everyone but me apparently. This boss goes down and I am being absolutely destroyed on damage. But it's okay. I don't mind losing to a ret. I'm not too far behind, but I guess I'll show you this part because I'm doing more damage. Oh, I'm a little bit behind on this one. Oh, wait, no. Afko boom. I just won't show you the part where the paladin overtook me. These ads can be really annoying, especially on a fortified week, and I don't actually have the greatest abilities to deal with this pack. Add the damage though. Now, Tree Boss, Oak Heart, Oak Face. How do you guys deal with this as an Affliction Warlock, or maybe just a caster? Do you guys kill the roots? Do you leave them up and nuke the saplings? I feel kind of spoiled on the Demon Hunter, not pugging so much and playing with the team. And because we have Zarex, a BM Hunter, the roots are so much easier for a BM Hunter to deal with. So for the most part, I usually leave them, and Zarex deals with all of them. What the hell do I do in this case? I'll be honest, I got a little greedy. I wanted to pad damage as well, so I was going to leave the roots for the most part and then nuke the saplings. There were a couple of times I got aggro on one of the saplings, and I mean, I took tunneling to a whole new level. So I started kiting the sapling to the tank, and I don't just stand in one volcanic. No, that would be too easy. I stand in 4. Like, I understand missing 1 from time to time, but how did I stand on 4? It's like all next to each other. It's a massive volcanic. Dilly, come on. I could have also used Gate, and I'm still not using Demonic Circle. Which is weird because I've played all 3 of the monk specs. I enjoy them all. And I love Transcendence, and I'm really good with it. It works pretty much the same way, so you'd think that I'd be okay on the Warlock. I honestly just forget I have it. Gateways, on the other hand, I'm actually using a lot more, although I'm not doing a very good job of showcasing that. I just show you the bad parts, man, it's fine. The third boss is also a great place where I should start using Demonic Circle, but I'm pretty sure I didn't use it at all in this episode. I did place a gate, however, I'm not sure if this was the correct place to put it. I just assumed that if I was going to get knocked back and I needed that emergency get out of jail, it would be there. But I did for science just standing there and casting, letting it push me back, and using the gate to get back in. I wanted to see what happened, and although this time wasn't great, I think that sort of method could be done really well. But I'm going to make it my mission for next episode at least. I'll try and remember Demonic Circle. I need to start using it. And with that in mind, I think to build up muscle memory at least nearly every day, I'm going to try and do at least 1 key on the Warlock. And because of recording and the challenge, of course, it is going to be recorded, but it might not necessarily make it into a video. I think I'm going to target the lower keys where I won't get any score, but perhaps I could get an item from. It would also build up the crests, making gearing go a little bit faster. So this boss goes down after about 1.5 minutes, and yeah, it's pretty clear that I struggled in terms of damage. It's alright, because next time we come here, Demonic Circle, I'm going to pull all of the whelplings, and then we're going to jump back in, Seed of Corruption, go boom. Alright, on to the last boss, and as mentioned before, the last time we came here was only on a +2, so a bit of a difference. But the moving is just as annoying. There's honestly not a lot to talk about, to be honest. Everyone stacks up when they need to, those spread when they need to spread, and in phase 2 it feels like I'm doing very little damage because I'm constantly on the move. So we end up +3 in this key, taking our total rating to 1,541. And although the paladin smashed me on damage, I kept up on interrupts. I've got to take my little victories where I can get them, man. Oh, and sadly, no loot from this run. Next place on the list is a Rise 15. This wasn't really a place I intended to come to today, but seeing as the group of friends wanted to continue, well, I think it'd be a bit silly not to tag along. Really friendly group, by the way. Has my luck changed? Though there is one kind of upside and downside to this one, and that's the fact that they've replaced the low item level mage with an incredibly high item level warlock. Incredibly high in comparison to me, anyway, and for 15s. Not only that, but they were also playing demonology. I went into this one almost feeling like I had something to prove, but it also felt like eyes were going to be on me, a similar feeling to when I'm playing live on stream. So to those that watch me live on stream, you probably know where this one's going. Hey, as long as I don't mess up on the orbs, I'm good. And if you're not watching me live or even following me over on Twitch, come on man, follows are free, and it's definitely content you're missing out on. So we begin this run, we get to the first pack, and thanks for the boost. This is going to be awful. Because as mentioned, I'm not a big fan of being boosted. I don't mind being the guy that's doing the boosting, but I like my damage meters. I like being competitive, and against these two, yeah, that wasn't gonna happen. We get to the first boss, and although my DPS is over 110k, I mean it's not bad, but it's not great either. I do place my gate strategically to deal with the bait mechanic, and although I could have just sidestepped like the priest, I just wanted to use my utility, man. You guys keep making fun of me and telling me I'm not using it, so I'm using it, okay? The first boss goes down pretty fast, and yeah, damage is pretty awful. So I feel like if I can't compete in terms of damage, at least for boss fights, I need to do other things to look like I'm not being totally carried. But let's face it, man, I'm being totally carried. So we got to the gauntlet, and this was my time to shine. I had to do well.
Nope.
Well, that didn't last long. All right, round 2, let's go.
Nope.
Really? The last one? How many times has this happened to you guys? All right, round 3. We got this. Well, I guess, as they say, third time lucky. And although the paladin was already on the other side, activating the portal, at least I could contribute and start the RP to pull the dragons. See, I'm helping. Yeah, players often forget this, by the way. If you make it to the other side before everyone else, just run inside the arena a little bit to pull the dragons and get them down quicker, and then go activate the portal. On to the battlefield. And I didn't notice this at the time, but I'm gonna point something out because I know Rep Paladin pretty well. I'm also pointing this out because my damage sucks and I need an excuse. But this is single target, right? At least until the ads are spawned. So why is this guy using Divine Storm on one target? Well, I guess I missed the trick on this one. Should I just be spamming Seed of Corruption? Then maybe I won't look so bad on the damage meters. Sorry, Soph, I didn't mean to do you like that, man. But yeah, this is one of those encounters that gets me incredibly flustered. I find it tricky for me to deal with as a caster. I feel like my positioning is all over the place, but as long as I can contribute by interrupting the caster and somewhat focusing the throwers, then I'm helping, right? So I'm trying to work on my positioning, and because of the shockwave ability, I decide it's best that I stand closer. And whilst this helps, it's also dangerous when I get targeted by the Blade Storm. Yeah, that volcanic didn't help either. And I panicked so much that I popped both of my defensives. Gonna need new underwear after this one. But maybe there's another ability within the group that could potentially save my life, because as we are progressing on Morchi and she splits off into her clones, well, I've got 4 eyes and I still can't make out which one she is. So I start running to the ones my teammates are pinging, and in the nick of time, the priest grips me to the correct one. This guy saved my life. And these are the sort of things that really make me want to play a priest. Or maybe just to stitch people up and make them run off of edges. And just like the battlefield, this is another encounter that I really struggle to deal with. And that shows when you look at my poor damage. Yeah, I think I need more practice on this one, but luckily enough for me, I'm such a pro at these orbs, and my teammates trust me, right? And yes, I know I've had at least 100 comments on my previous videos explaining how to do the orbs. If you want to go see how bad I was then, well, you got to check out the first episode. Oh, and that was legit, by the way. I have no idea how it worked, but I do now, don't worry. I think anyway. So these guys are obviously a group of friends. I have no idea if they're communicating on Discord, but I'm obviously not. But I've got a point to prove, right? I need to show you guys that I know how they work. Sadly, the first orb doesn't spawn on me, but the second orb does. I move out of this one because I'm trying to move away from the volcanic, but volcanic strikes back, knocking the other warlock up in the air, making the party take full damage. Ouch. Well, that was rude. The third orb, once again, not on me, so I don't have to deal with this one. But then finally, the fourth orb spawns on me. And because the other warlock isn't moving, I think maybe the priest panics, and they gripped me out of it. Well, I guess I can't be trusted after all. I don't blame them though, completely the right play. I was gonna move, but I was kinda hoping the other guy did. I'm a pug to them after all, so I can respect that. I know how it is. We get to the last phase, it's really messy, and everyone's standing all over the place. The tank starts moving in my direction, therefore I have to get the hell out of there, because when the boss starts casting its frontal, well, that happens. I feel like you stitched me up, man. But I guess there is more space on the side I was standing, so I can't really blame the guy, can I? Poor positioning on my part. So the rest of the guys do end up taking this boss down, and it takes our total rating up to 1,599. We two-chested it too, or I guess they did, I didn't really do much. Though I did kind of make a mistake when it came to loot, because although I did get champion legs, which were an upgrade to my veteran, the warlock also offered a headpiece, which was champion, and mine was also veteran. And for whatever reason, I thought it was a weapon. I mean, I highlighted over the item that they linked in chat and it's clearly a headpiece, but you can see me opening my character panel and highlighting over my weapons. Maybe I need new glasses. Now, sadly for me, this was the last run that this group of friends had time for. Well, that's a shame because these guys were really friendly. Due to the good day I was having and the friendly people I was meeting, I was in a really good mood and feeling confident. So the next key I decided to do was my own, an Atal'Dazar 18. A myth slot for the vault would be huge. But this of course meant that I had to be a little picky when it came to who I invited. So like earlier, I didn't want to just invite the first people that signed up and hold out just in case a group of friends decided to sign for the key. And would you look at that? High score, high item level, and a pre-made. So I went into this one feeling pretty confident. I didn't get off to a great start in terms of damage for the first boss. I somewhat claw my way back so I'm at least competing with the paladin, but there's no catching this DK. We start making our way towards the totem boss, and this is where things get a little spicy. Oh, looks like someone's got a big butt. At least it wasn't me. These two packs caused a series of deaths, and we had no choice but to die and reset. I knew it was going to be tricky going into the totem boss because I was nearly 20 item levels below the other two DPS. And also if you look at overall damage, you can see I'm a little bit behind there too. There was no communication by any of us, so I made the assumption that they would have picked up on this and monitored the health of the totems. But when one of the other DPS took down their totem, I still had 35% on mine. So we messed up the totems that obviously respawned, we lost the Rep Paladin, and then we lost everyone else when the Noxus Stench ability went out. Yeah, those really need to be interrupted. Round 2 went much better for the totems, phase 2 got really messy, but thankfully we were able to get this guy down. But I'm not quite sure I should be top on interrupts. Uh-oh. There's not much to cover when it comes to the priest boss. Things do get a little hairy near the end, but one thing's for sure, we're probably not timing this one. Oh well, at least I finished top on damage for this boss. On to the last boss, YAZMA. Oh, you saw nothing. So, YAZMA. Typically, in Pugs, there's no communication, and clones are stacked in the middle of the room. I was actually quite surprised when the first clones came out and we stacked all of them in the little cubby area. The second clones weren't terrible, but it was clear these guys had a plan, and I didn't know what it was, because there was no communication. Though, as the second clones went down, I was a little confused, as the tank dragged the boss back to the cubby area. It wouldn't be so bad, but there was a lot of stuff on the floor. The third clones are about to happen, and I realised not only are we surrounded by puddles, but we're also blocked in by a couple of spiders. And when they become active and start targeting you, well, we're going to be in trouble. And that was pretty evident as the DK went down. I placed my gate to one side where it was clear, as I felt like this was the correct play. But it seemed like the rest of the group were pretty sure on fighting on the other side. And because of my positioning, it now means that spiders are going to spawn in the middle. And you really don't want that. So perhaps I didn't make the situation any easier, but this was just a complete mess. I then rotate to where I feel like the rest of the group want the clones. I guess I get it somewhat right, but sadly for me, healing becomes a little bit too much to deal with. I get the Wrecking Pain debuff, and I go down. We then let an ad get to the boss gets buffed, and the group falls apart. So we wiped once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and on the 6th attempt, the guys decided it was just a bit too much. I mean, 56 minutes, 45 deaths, the guys were just fed up and they wanted to leave. Once again, another pretty friendly group, when they started talking at least, and the fact that they stayed this long, well, I had no hard feelings and appreciated their time and effort. Halfway through the wipes, I did try and explain the tactics and what I thought they should do, which is why you can see the markers placed in the corners. I simply said that the tank had to kite the boss round the edge of the room, everyone should avoid the middle as much as we can, and drop the clones behind the boss in one of the corners. This way we can kite the spiders round the room, leave as much space as we could, but yeah. YAZMA on Tyrannical, she's no joke, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this too. So I decided to come back on a 17. I wasn't giving up just yet, I really needed this for score. We get to Razan, he starts his pursuit, goes chomp once, twice, and we have to reset the encounter. We start again, Razan chomps his third victim in a row, the tank goes down and leaves the group. Well, it wasn't YAZMA this time. Right here is where I probably should have taken a break from Atal'Dazar, but I was determined to get this place done because I really needed the score. And this time I invite yet another group of friends. This group consists of a Demonology Warlock at 484, an Assassin Rogue that we don't see too much of. This poor guy was like 430, which didn't bother me at all because the Warlock, and the Mistweaver Monk that sat at around 480. I then invited a Prop Paladin that sat at 461. And I think we've seen enough of Atal'Dazar for one day, so I'm going to skip to the last boss. This one, just like the other groups, was a little messy. I nearly bit the big one at the end when I got trapped by a spider, but we did take down this boss, bringing our total rating to 1,629. And we two-chested it too. No loot from this run, but I am glad to see the back of it. And yet again, carried by another Warlock. I signed up to a Waycrest Manor 14, and I got into the first key I signed to. Something's not quite right here. Bye-bye! Ah, there it is. After that, I somehow managed to get into a Black Rook Hold 13. I'm not going to cover too much of this place because we've already been to it a couple of times, but I did want to revisit the second boss with the lasers. I didn't quite know how to deal with this the first time round, but I think I had the right idea, so I wanted to try it again. The I-beams target a player, and for 12 seconds you have an I-beam following you around the room. The trick to this is to jump in place. This both mitigates the damage and means you don't spread it around the room. But as a caster, when do you jump? Am I meant to be constantly jumping, or do I jump between casts? This I'm still unsure of. I tried this out and it looked like there were times I could get some casts off, but there were other times where I took some damage. So do I just constantly jump and apply my dots? I can get away with what I'm doing in this level of key, maybe not in the higher ones. So to all of the casters out there, how should I deal with this correctly? We made our way to the boulder boss and we had no deaths. Whoop, spoke too soon. Sorry man, it had to be done. To be fair, I nearly died to it too. One day though, one day. We get to the third boss, and usually when I play with my Mythic Plus team, Mimi, our tank, likes to take all of the knocks. I guess this tank does too, but this tank's not Mimi. Oh no, my face! God damn it. Wait, now you res the tank? I was tanking for over 10 seconds, man. I mean, sure, I could have done it myself, but I was too busy tanking. Ah, that was funny. On to the last boss, and not much to cover at all. So we do take this guy down, free chest in the key, and it takes our total score to 1,701. I did pick up a champion ring with haste and verse. Not entirely sure if it's something I'm going to end up using, but I couldn't trade it even if I wanted to. Sorry, guys. The last key I needed for score was a Waycrest Manor, and somehow I got into a 16. Not long after I got into the group, a Prop Paladin joined, and I got this whisper.
I'ma make sure this run goes in a video, don't worry.
Oh man, now I need to do well, right? And we got off to a great start. I mean, just take a look at the Prop Paladin damage. That's pretty nuts. But do you guys remember earlier what I said about the first boss and Seed of Corruption? Yeah, I'm a dum-dum. The first boss goes down really well. I do much better on the second boss in terms of damage, especially on the targets that had thorns, though I'm still not entirely sure which abilities I should save for that. After the second boss, I absolutely loved the amount of AoE I got to do. Just look at that damage, man. And although I struggled on the third boss to get going, I do manage to somewhat claw my way back, and we take this guy down, but it got pretty messy at times. The fourth boss, I struggle to get started, but once again, I'm able to pick myself up and deal some decent damage. But the one thing I really want to point out for this fight, hey look, I used Demonic Circle. The last boss was a bit of a mess when it came to ads, and I'm not convinced it was dealt with correctly, because that's a lot of ads. It's complete chaos as we get to the end, but thankfully we were able to finish this +2 in the key, and this took our total rating to 1,802. We didn't get any loot from this run, but well, the Prop Paladin certainly didn't disappoint. The route was spot on, great damage and interrupts, and Sanguine was dealt with really well, apart from the time I stunned mobs inside it, but we won't show that. If you enjoyed today's episode and you can't wait for the next one, be sure to check out the Blood DK series from Season 1, where we started our Mythic Plus journey, or you can take a look at the Mistweaver Monk series for Season 2, where it took me far too long to figure out why I wasn't actually healing.